Inspector Holly Turton is going to read statements, and she'll take your questions after, but I'm going to step in and kind of remind folks that we're going to take one question at a time at the end, so you'll see me again, and then you'll get a chance to ask questions.
Good afternoon. I'm Inspector Holly Turton, the officer in charge of federal policing operations with the RCMP in Newfoundland and Labrador. Today I am here to announce the results of Project Bombard, a 2-year joint investigation between the RCMP's Major Crime Unit and federal policing from B Division into the criminal activities of the Vikings Motorcycle Club and the homicide of Dale Porter. Yesterday, officers with the Newfoundland and Labrador's RCMP, with assistance from the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary, executed search warrants at 6 locations on the Eastern Avalon Peninsula, 5 here in St. John's, and 1 location in Cupids. As a result, 8 members of the Vikings Motorcycle Club and 2 of their associates have been arrested and charged with 58 criminal offenses, including drug trafficking and charges related to criminal organization. In total, 59 charges were laid this week as a result of Project Bombard, including the charge of second-degree murder laid against Alan Winfield Potter this past Monday. Yesterday, Daniel Edward Leonard, 35, of St. John's was arrested and also charged with second-degree murder in the death of Dale Porter, a tragic example of the Viking Motorcycle Club's use of violence. Our investigators met with Mr. Porter's family yesterday to update them on the arrest and charge of Daniel Leonard. They were pleased with news of the second arrest, but have again asked for privacy as they continue to deal with the tragic loss of their loved one. I would like to once again confirm that there is no information to indicate that Dale Porter had any connection to the Vikings or any criminal activity. As a result of Project Bombard, a considerable quantity of illegal drugs, including cocaine, fentanyl, and illicit prescription drugs, are off the streets. We believe that as a result of yesterday's arrests and seizures, that there will be an immediate positive impact on our communities. Over the course of the investigation, police seized items including cocaine, cannabis resin, oxycodone, and temazepam, as well as powder sold as heroin, which was later determined to contain fentanyl. We also seized 8 motorcycles and 2 trucks, and various items related to the Vikings Motorcycle Club, including clothing, jewelry, support patches, and stickers. Outlaw motorcycle gangs, such as the Vikings Motorcycle Club, threaten the safety and well-being of our communities through their involvement in the illicit drug trade and the violence they use to further their criminal interests. Through Project Bombard, our investigators confirmed the Vikings' affiliation with the Hells Angels, an international outlaw motorcycle gang that has been linked to intimidation, extortion, corruption, and violence. You may have noticed a variety of items displayed here today, including the motorcycle, leather vests with the Vikings Motorcycle Club patches, and other support paraphernalia. These items were seized over the course of Project Bombard and represent the tools gangs such as the Vikings use to intimidate and influence the neighborhoods and communities where they operate. The Vikings' use of the red and white in their patches and other support gear signifies their sanctioned affiliation with the Hells Angels. I am pleased to say that we believe that this week's arrest of members of the Vikings represents a serious setback for the Hells Angels' attempt to gain foothold in our province. It is important to note that most motorcycle riders in Newfoundland and Labrador and across Canada, including myself, are law-abiding individuals and are not associated with outlaw motorcycle gangs. But I want to be really clear that the individuals arrested yesterday are not just motorcycle enthusiasts. These individuals have direct links to the trafficking of illicit drugs and the use of intimidation and violence to maintain control over what they consider to be their territory. The disruption of the Vikings' criminal activities, the arrest of 2 men for the murder of Dale Porter, and the seizure of a considerable amount of illicit drugs and property associated with crime represent our ongoing commitment to combat organized crime in our province and to make our communities a safe place to live. We will continue to work with our community partners to remind the public of the risks of supporting and associating with outlaw motorcycle gangs and organized crime, And we will continue to work with our policing partners to gather, coordinate, and share information on outlaw motorcycle gang membership and activities to ensure the safety and well-being of our communities. Lastly, I would like to thank the London Police Service and RCMP officers from various provinces who have assisted in this complex and lengthy investigation. I will now take questions, but would like to remind you that with charges being laid and the matter before the courts, I may be limited in the information I can provide.
What can you tell us about the motive that they had to kill Dale Ford?
Because this is before the courts, I'm not able to provide any information.
What was the doctor's connection to all this? Dr. Holland?
Yeah, Dr. Holohan's connection is that he is an associate with the Vikings, and the charges are included in that, with that.
He was a member of that motorcycle?
He was not. He's an associate of the Vikings Motorcycle Club.
Was Mr. McIntyre the other associate? You said there was two.
No, Mr. McIntyre was not the other associate.
Who was the other one?
The other associate is Vincent Leonard Jr.
Did the murder initiate the investigation into all the other activities, or was it unknown?
Yeah, the investigation commenced with the homicide, and after a short period of time, it became a joint investigation to investigate the homicide as well as the criminal activities related to the Vikings Motorcycle Club.
Were you surprised at all what you found, how set up and organized they were?
No, I don't think we were surprised at how organized they were, because we had previous dealings with them and had indication as to how well they were organized.
How big is the Vikings organization?
There were approximately 20 members of the Vikings.
Are they right across the province?
No, they're based within St. John's.
So how much of a dent does these recent arrests and charges laid put into that organization?
Well, it's our hope that this will end up dismantling the organization, but I guess time will tell.
Can you just clarify for someone, what does participation in activities of a criminal organization mean, like in layman's terms?
In layman's terms, that there are activities that are engaged in that are criminal in nature, and they are engaged in for the purpose of profit, and they are participating in that.
Can you speak a little bit more about the connection to Hells Angels and how you know that connection is there?
That is part of the investigation, so I can't speak to how we're aware of that information, but that was uncovered throughout during the course of the investigation.
And the red and white connection?
Yeah, so what I can say is that to be able to use the red and white and to be sanctioned to be allowed to use the red and white, but the Hells Angels has to permit that when it comes to motorcycle patches.
Should people be nervous in this province about biker gang activity?
I would suggest that this has gone a long way towards curbing that activity here, and our efforts will continue. So I don't think they need to be nervous, because I think we have disrupted that organization quite successfully.
This seems like a big operation. How many RCMP officers were involved in Operation Bombard?
At any given time, that number did fluctuate, but that number runs in the hundreds and would probably be close to about 500 over the course of the investigation.
It was a 2-year investigation. What challenges, what are the difficulties in investigating a gang like the Vikings?
There are many barriers that you have to overcome when you're investigating for this length of time, and they run the gamut from changing personnel to complex investigative techniques. So they're numerous.
Is the sports bar on Bon Flotty, we were hearing yesterday at the scene that it was a Viking clubhouse. What can you tell us about that location?
I can't provide any details. That's part of the ongoing investigation.
You say there are 20 members of the Vikings,
Approximately.
and 8 have been arrested.
Yes.
The other 12 weren't involved in part of the investigation, or?
At this point, those are the arrests that have been made. There may be future arrests, but I cannot comment on that at this time.
Can you talk about the type of surveillance and infiltration that your team did throughout the
I cannot. That's all before the courts at this point in time.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Can I get the last, it's coming to the last
Yes,
name?
it's TUR.
Oh, it's in the release,
Yeah.
okay.
TON, yeah.
What's your position as well? Your position?
Sorry?
Superintendent?
No, I'm an inspector.
Inspector.
Yep. And I'm the officer. I'm the officer in charge of federal policing operations here at the division.
And so you're